How should the Arizona Cardinals approach the regular season finale against the Seattle Seahawks in Week 18 of the NFL season? Is it a must-win? Do they need to take care of business, or should they get ready for Super Wild Card Weekend? Which looks like the Arizona Cardinals, they're definitely destined to play next week. Also, some Arizona Cardinals could cash in on some pretty major stats. We'll get into those as well, and what you said as far as which team you want to see on Super Wild Card Weekend the Cardinals face. It's Bo Brock, it's Alex Clancy, and it's Locked On Cardinals.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Let's go. Rise up, Red Sea. It's Bo Brock, Alex Clancy. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen now in 2022. You did it all 2021, and we're forever grateful for that. So pumped about where this podcast is going, whether it's on the YouTube channel or wherever you find podcasts. We're just seeing listenership just continue to rise. We're seeing our social media numbers go up and up, and we're just thankful for everybody that's joining the conversation about this exciting team that got back on track in Week 17 against the Dallas Cowboys, a 25-22 win over the boys. It could be their first round matchup in the playoffs. Right now, as it sits, it would be the 5th overall seeded Arizona Cardinals visiting Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys, the 4th overall seed out of the NFC East. Would you rather the Cardinals face the Cowboys or the 49ers? We'll tell you what you said. The listeners out there, we'll get into that conversation. Also, we'll get into what this game really means for the Arizona Cardinals. Should it be a must-win? Should they approach this thing, just kind of throw everything, including the kitchen sink, at the Seattle Seahawks and try to get that W, try to get that NFC West title as the LA Rams take on the San Francisco 49ers? The Niners in a must-win situation with their playoff hopes kind of waning and in the balance. And as well, like a couple stats that some key Cardinals could kind of cash in on and kind of reach the franchise history books with come Sunday. You know, with that being said, before we get into that conversation, and we'll probably do it later, but Alex, it is the first time that the NFL has seen 18 weeks in the regular season, 17 games. Do you even care about stats that are achieved with an extra game at this point?
I mean, it's wet blankety, but no. You know, this isn't 14-16, okay? Everything is magnified. 14-16 in the 70s and 80s, you know, whatever. Nobody remembers then. There's only one team that remembers then, and it's the team that went undefeated and won the Super Bowl, okay? Like, where we are now, it's all about stats. All of it. It used to just be baseball was the stat sport. Baseball had a stat for everything. Basketball was superstars that David Stern did with a star-driven league that made it global. And the NFL wasn't always the most popular sport. You know, it was just a bunch of really strong men beating each other up. Super Bowl, cool. And then it's had this meteoric rise where it's under a microscope. Fantasy football, sports betting, everything. It's not gonna matter if Cooper Kupp breaks Calvin Johnson's single season receiving record. It's not going to matter if he does it in Week 18, in my opinion. It's going to be all over SportsCenter. It's going to be all over everything. Maybe 10 years from now when things get adjusted, but Adrian Peterson's or Emmitt Smith's record, who had the single season rushing record, Why can't I think of this? I don't know. It doesn't matter. I know AP was eight yards away a couple years ago. Those are going to be intact because it was 16 games. You know, passing yards doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter if it breaks it or not. 5,000. There were 5,000 yard seasons 5 years ago. We thought it was an epidemic, and now it's completely regressed.
Right.
So I don't know. I won't take any real weight, especially this year, in records being broken through Week 18. No.
When Bengals rookie wide receiver Jamar Chase eclipsed his college teammate Justin Jefferson's rookie record for receiving yards last week, I kind of was like, you know, the smallest sigh of relief ever. I was like, okay, I'm glad he did it in 16 games. So people aren't going to say, well, I'm not going to recognize that for exactly the reasons that you're pointing out. So I'm okay with that. Like I'm glad he did that, so it's kind of scrutinized and panned, and it doesn't have an asterisk from everybody. But yeah, it's going to take some time for some new numbers to kind of emerge. And there's not the good thing is, as far as the quarterback position, there's no big like highly regarded numbers that are at within striking distance. Like luckily nobody's kind of like knocking at the door of 55 touchdowns to or was it 56 from Peyton Manning, to break that number. I'm kind of glad that's not happening.
Yeah, and it's Eric Dickerson. Okay, Eric Dickerson. Apologies, Rams fans. Even though Eric Dickerson has been very, very, he was very, not so much of a fan of the Rams a couple years ago before they turned things around. Very outspoken about that. But yeah, you're right. Jamar Chase, those are fun. Those are good ones. Rookie, touchdown records. It's going to be, I wonder what the analytical dudes are going to do, what the stat people are going to do if they're going to make before 17 and after 17. Right. Because there's going to have to be stats. People are going to have to hit bonuses, right. In the full business sense of the word, averaging, like being a 1,000-yard rusher, 1,000-yard receiver, in my opinion, it's the most overblown thing in sports. It's because it's 60 yards a game. It's right. Good, but it's not Hall of Fame good. And what we're going to see now is like, is it going to be, I don't know, 1,300 yards with an extra game being all pro? I don't know.
You don't even have to be a full-time player to get to 1,000, really. I mean, it's especially as far as a running back goes. But you mentioned bonus real quick, and I think we need to get this out of the way. Because when you mention bonus, I think about how Antonio Brown melted down on Sunday, left in a very, odd way, went shirtless, went Dennis Rodman. He was the worm out there, losing his shirt, kind of saying goodbye to the fans as his team was losing to the New York Jets at the time. Antonio Brown leaves, and we kind of get the insight that he was asked to go in the game, demanded he go in the game. He said he's too injured to play, and then BA pretty much kicked him off the sidelines. There's some Cardinals fans out there that want the team to look into acquiring Antonio Brown. He hasn't officially been released by the Bucs as we record this podcast, but should the Arizona Cardinals be in the business of AB if he becomes available?
Why are you talking to me like this? This isn't the offseason. This isn't July. It's not list season. What the hell are you talking about? Of course they should. No, they shouldn't. No, they shouldn't. Even though he'd fit really well in this offense. He's going to get another job. He's going to get one more job. They still own his employment rights.
Right.
As of now, why would they cut him? They don't owe him any more money, I don't think.
It wouldn't make any sense. He's not going to be, unless his agent were to go to the NFL Players Association and file a grievance, say, hey, you're not going to play him, and he can go make money elsewhere. That might be their option. But as far as the Cardinals are concerned, you don't want that headache coming into your locker room because, and I'll say this, look, as far as talent-wise, he would be an upgrade to the roster. With DeAndre Hopkins being out, sure. But as far as the NFL goes in scheming and getting guys up to speed as far as what they can do and where they need to be on the field at any given time, it would take too long and it wouldn't match what the production would be from Antonio Brown for he wouldn't play in the regular season finale. That means his first game as a Cardinal would be in a playoff game. It's just too risky to try to get somebody up to speed on Cliff Kingsbury's offense on the fly. And I don't think it would be an upgrade at this point. And this is saying a lot over Antoine Wesley, who we would potentially replace in the lineup. It wouldn't make sense for the Arizona Cardinals. I even think, after seeing how they played in the defensive secondary on Sunday against the Cowboys, what are we doing with Bashaud Breeland? Why don't even have him suit up? The way that things ended in Minnesota, like I don't even want that guy to. Sure, he adds depth to defensive secondary, but he was just it was target practice against him all year long in Minnesota, and he seems to be a headache in the locker room. And you've shown that you can play without him. Why even let him suit up for the Cardinals going forward?
Yeah, agreed. They just signed him to the practice squad. Yeah. And we'll talk through. I mean, everybody's coming back off the COVID list, which is good news for the Cardinals. But yeah, no, I agree. I mean, you let it ride at this point. We'll see what happens with Marco Wilson. We haven't heard any. I mean, he's not on the IR, so that's a good sign.
Right.
I don't know what the range of motion that you need as a corner with your shoulder and that area. They held CeeDee Lamb did what, 2 catches, like 2 chunk plays. He had 1 catch for 6 or 7 yards in the first half. Mari Cooper caught a touchdown pass, but he was null and void. Michael Gallup had that 1 touchdown catch before he, sadly tore his ACL.
Which was absurd. It was an absurd play. I mean,
yeah,
how many guys
it was.
did that catch?
Yeah, and he's the afterthought guy too. I mean, he's going to get paid a lot of money this offseason, but they played fine.
Yeah.
They played fine defensively. And I don't know if that's Dak. I don't know what it is. And we'll get into who we think the Cardinals, who we would rather have the Cardinals play during Super Bowl called weekend.
Yeah. And, pumped to tell you guys always about Built Bar. It's a new year. It means New Year's resolutions. If yours is getting fit or eating healthier, make sure you've got that little secret weapon, Built Bar. It's part of your plan. Built Bar is a protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, maybe even better than a candy bar. Built Bar makes it easier to stick to your resolution because it tastes so good, you'll want to eat it. Unlike other protein bars that are chalky, waxy, I've even heard some people say they taste like a chemical spill. You want to eat healthy, but it gets so boring, right? By week 3, you're thinking, this isn't worth it. Where's the chocolate? Built Bar. That's where the chocolate is. 100% real chocolate. All the bars, most Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 grams of net carbs, and 17 grams of muscle-packing protein. Compare that to a candy bar, which has 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. If your body's your temple, what are you doing putting all that junk in there? Save yourself some money in the new year as well. You go to Built.com, use the promo code LOCKED15. That's LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. That's LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. Bo Brock, Alex Clancy, thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen each and every day. Got some interesting stats that the Arizona Cardinals could cash in on here in the final game of the regular season. As Alex mentioned, there's been some roster moving activity. Marcus Golden activated off the COVID-19 list. So has left tackle DJ Humphries, Devon Kennard, and Bashad Breeland. He has been added to the practice squad. The team has released Isaiah Johnson, who they added to the practice squad late last week. It's kind of a holy crap, safety net at the cornerback position. So those are your roster moves here. Those came down on Tuesday. Here's a Wednesday episode for you on Locked On Cardinals. Make sure to follow along on Twitter at Locked On AZCards. Those numbers continue to increase at Clancy's Corner and at Bob Brack. I want to get into this. How you kind of view this regular season finale against the Seattle Seahawks. This was a team that the Cardinals handled. If Matt Prater didn't miss, 1, 2, 3 field goals against the Seahawks, the Cardinals are running away with it. They did run. The game was in hand for most of the contest, 23-13. That was a game that Colt McCoy started. Is it a must-win? Do you go for the division? The Niners are in a must-win situation against the LA Rams, a team that they already beat this season. And the Cardinals could regain the division here on the final day. Or do you say, okay, we're a solid team on the road. We know we can beat Dallas. We need our guys healthy. That's the number one priority. So maybe we aggressively pursue a W, and if things kind of get a little hairy, we just pull our guys? Or how do you think they should approach Week 18?
Get the home game. When all else fails, get the home game. Like, even if it were Dallas coming here, like that's the deal. That's the that's what wins for me. I know that they haven't played that well at home. Playoff game, you want to play at home, And you look at who they would play with San Francisco. And yes, okay, I was corrected on Twitter. I knew this. I just didn't want. If Tampa Bay loses and the Rams lose and the Cardinals win, the Cardinals get the 2 seed and they host the Eagles. Okay, but the chance of Tom Brady losing to Carolina in Week 18 with everything on the line, I'm taking Tom. So that's why I didn't even say that. I should have said the 2 most likely scenarios. Go win the football game. See, if the Rams go up, and which I don't think they will, if they're up 31-7 to start the 4th, sit Kyler. There's no time to get cute. You act accordingly. You just kneel down. It doesn't matter. What I don't understand is, and I would love to have a debate at some other point about this, why is there not a mercy rule in the NFL for player safety? If it's 44-3 starting the 4th quarter, call the game. What are you trying to prove? Now, in the same kind of thing with that, if the Rams are blowing out the 49ers, Kneel every play. Like, it doesn't matter. That you legitimately can gain nothing from winning or losing that game. So just chill. What about you? I mean, we're going to be scoreboard watching, obviously, because the games are being played simultaneously.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's what I think. I think the Arizona Cardinals need to come out aggressive in the first half, see if they can get a lead. But as far as the second half goes, Colt McCoy has to come out regardless of what's going on. And that's not waving the white flag. Colt McCoy dealt against the Seattle Seahawks this season. He had his best game of probably his career against the Seattle Seahawks last time out. 35 for 44, 328, 2 touchdowns.
You're out of your mind.
So, what's that?
You're out of your mind.
No.
So you think that in a close game, if the Rams could potentially lose, you're still bringing out Colt McCoy?
Yeah, I think.
See, even your studio turned the lights off on that.
The lights went out on me if you're watching on YouTube. No, I think that Colt McCoy gives you. He can go out there, run the offense. He can get a couple reps that just, the holy crap situation in the playoffs that he has to play. And he can go out there and he can beat a beaten team already. Seattle has nothing to play for. They don't want to go out there. There's nothing. It's not going to be Big Ben crying on the field. This is ending in divorce right now. This is a broken home for the Seattle Seahawks. Don't take a 51 burger against the Detroit Lions. This is going to be a dangerous squad coming to town. Arizona Cardinals are 3-1 against the Seattle Seahawks in the last 4 games. Like, this is an organization that's not part of what was so successful since the Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll teamed up in 2012. Like, they're a shell of themselves, and even less so. So I think that the Arizona Cardinals can get the best of both worlds to where they can aggressively try to win this game, but also keep their stars out of harm's way.
And obviously this is going to be loosely based on what Seattle does. If they sit Russell Wilson like I think they should, he's their most tradable asset at this point. Because I think, I called in the middle of the season, everybody's gone. They don't have draft picks. They need to start over. Pete Carroll might be gone. John Schneider should be gone. So yeah, if they sit, see how it goes. But if Geno Smith is starting, I'm assuming it's still Geno Smith as the backup. I think they have a sneaky guy out there too. I don't remember. It's a name in Seattle. Yeah, sure. See what the game flow. But if it's a close game and the Rams game is a close game, there's no way I'm pulling Kyler off the field. I think that is a huge mistake, just in the grand scheme of jockeying for playoff position, to try to control your own fate by losing. We see it all the time in the NBA. Oh, interesting that if, the Clippers were to lose this game, they'd be playing the Spurs instead of the Suns, whatever it is. That happened a couple years ago, and the Rockets dropped all the way down and it didn't work out. It rarely works out when you try to get cute. Go win a football game, play who you're going to play. You always want to go in with a win regardless. It doesn't matter if the Rams win or lose. You want to go in, get your 12th to win. You're going to lose the draft spot. You're going to drop its draft spot, but still, with what the Cardinals did during that 3-week span, you need as many wins as you can get to reshift that momentum back to positivity town.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. And probably, I'll probably change my tune mid-game. If the Rams are struggling against the Niners, which is going on at the same time, and the Arizona Cardinals are in a tight one, you go out. It just like you wanted to be aggressive in the final drive against the Dallas Cowboys. First play could have been a touchdown for Christian Kirk. That's like the old BA mentality, the old risk and no biscuit. You kind of go for the throat situation. I understand that there's a massive, I'm not ignorant to the fact that there's a massive difference between Kyler Murray and Colt McCoy.
Yeah,
but I don't think that the Cardinals are conceding winning a football game by sending Colt McCoy out there 2-1 as a starter in the absence of Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray has to have a massive game to cash in on a big passing statistic. I'll tell you what that is. Also, your mind's going to be blown as far as the futility at the tight end position and how Zach Ertz has transformed a position that's huge in the modern day NFL. We'll get into that. But if you buy gas, you need to know about this app. I'm talking about the incredible app that everybody who buys gas needs to know about, Get Upside. Alex and my listeners, they're making 25 cents every gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app in the App Store, Google Play right now. Use the promo code Touchdown, and you get a bonus, 25 cents per gallon on your first fill up. That's 50 cents cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back using Get Upside. Just download the app for free. Use the promo code touchdown, and you'll get 50 cents per gallon cash back on your first tank. Some people who drive a lot, they're making $200, $300 cash back a month. There's no catch. The cash back gets added right into your account. You can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, e-gift card, Amazon, other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app. Use the promo code touchdown. That's the promo code touchdown. Locked On Cardinals, part of your Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Bo Brock, Alex Clancy hanging out with you. We're going to talk to Corbin Smith of Locked On Seahawks tomorrow. Poor guy. I don't know. Now we're going to – he's just got to be a beaten man at this point. I don't care how bad you beat the Lions.
If Russell Wilson didn't get hurt, they're making the playoffs. Like, this team is way better than their record indicates. He was out 3 games. So maybe they wouldn't, but it's a completely different team. This off, like I don't know.
He was on a milk carton up until last week.
Russell Wilson, the last couple weeks. I mean, they've won some games. Rashad Penny looks like he's. See, the thing that's sad about Seattle is that they've got a good enough team. I just think that it's like when you're in a relationship and you're like, oh, this is on the outs, and you have like a great last 2 weeks. You go on a great vacation or something, and it's like, oh, we're gonna revamp everything that used to be, and then you're back with each other for a week when you get home, and it's like, nope, that's it. That's what this is for Seattle. They've got the names. Like, if you trade, like, so let's do a little, just really quick, and I know we're gonna get into more P's and Q's with the Cardinals. If you trade Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf, Jamal Adams, how many first-round picks do you think you can get from those 3 players? 7?
No.
8?
I mean, Russell Wilson's going to net you the most, right? He'll
Maybe 3.
2 to 3, right?
Yep.
Jamal Adams, you can't get a first-round pick for that guy.
You don't think so? In the right system?
No. What's the right system for him?
I don't know.
A safety who plays in the box who can't cover? I mean,
okay, so say you get 2 twos for Jamal Adams.
Jamal Adams had this season, who's notorious for being a sack artist?
0?
As you and I did. Yeah.
So, and then DK Metcalf, you could probably get a first and a third for. First and a second for, maybe, depending on how many draft picks that team has accrued. Like, you could legitimately start a brand new team and then sign a bunch of expensive players. Like, they could do that. I just don't know because that's what they have now, though. So it's like they're young enough, but it's fascinating to see what they're going to do. Because if Russell Wilson wants out, they trade everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be one of the worst teams if they do that, they're going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL. Sure, they could fast track their rebuild, and they could. And I don't like the quarterback. I don't know what they do
at all
going forward.
Yeah.
I don't know who's available. I mean, we could be watching Mitchell Trubisky be the quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks next year at this point. It's pretty crazy, once proud franchise and how, quickly things can pivot in the NFL.
Anyways, I just thought that was fascinating.
Yeah, we're gonna have tons of those conversations this offseason. It's an intriguing just organization, like, because they do need a facelift. They are that relationship that, you think it could work. There's the pieces in place, but for whatever reason, just can't work. It's just dysfunctional, and it's not fixable. I don't care how many couples therapy sessions you can go to. There's a couple stats that the Arizona Cardinals could cash in on in the regular season finale. Here's one that's probably really not going to happen. Kyler Murray getting to 4,000 yards passing. He's never reached that number in his career. He came close, 3,971 last year. He would need 453 yards passing on Sunday. That'd be a massive number to reach 4K. He would need 424 to match his career high. Probably not happening. Christian Kirk, this is very likely, Alex. Christian Kirk needs 61 yards for 1,000 yards receiving. That would be his first time reaching that mark in the NFL. I think that would be probably a little confidence booster. It would help him once he goes to free agency next year, if he wants to negotiate with the Cardinals or whoever, if Jacksonville wants to back up the Briggs truck to him, he could say, I'm a 1,000-yard receiver. AJ Green, this is probably not happening. Needs 175 for 1K.
But the AJ Green experiment has worked.
It has. Well, you and I, as far as what we would have deemed a success for AJ Green happened weeks ago. We said, 750?
Yeah, and a handful of touctouchdowns.
Yeah, he's got 3 touchdowns. He's been the number one, he's been playing that outside receiver. He's been the number 2 option as far as receivers go. He has been a success as far as the signing this offseason.
And I would happily give him the same contract again.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's $6 million. I mean, the contract, the thing's going up. DeAndre Hopkins will be back. Like,
yeah,
you've been giving Larry Fitzgerald double that the last 4 years.
I mean, ideally, I'd like to see them go younger.
Yeah.
But, it doesn't. AJ Green, James Conner, those are going to be some conversations. It's going to be interesting to see both on 1-year contracts. Zach Ertz, this is the most intriguing to me. Zach Ertz needs 10 yards to have 500 yards receiving as an Arizona Cardinal. Now, I think he has like 679 on the season total, but that includes his Eagles games. He's played in 10 games. So here's where it gets interesting. He gets 10 yards to get to 500. He would be the second Cardinals tight end since they moved to the desert to just reach the 500-yard mark, which is crazy. Freddie Jones is the only guy that's done it. He had 517 in 2003. That's how futile this position has been since they moved to the desert. And you can talk about Robert Waltz and all these guys that played in St. Louis, but since they moved to the desert, it's just been nobody has been successful at the tight end position. Zach Ertz has. That's something to take in consideration when the offseason comes. He's been huge. Troy Aikman mentioned on the broadcast, he's been their top receiver as far as receptions since he came over. Couple things on the defensive side of the football. Budda Baker needs 5 tackles for 100 total on the season. For the 4th straight year, he would join Jordan Hicks, Jalen Thompson, and Isaiah Simmons, who have already eclipsed the century mark as far as tackles go. That's pretty impressive. And then Chandler Jones needs a half sack for 10 on the season. It would be the 7th time that he reached double digits in his career. There you go.
Cool. I mean, those are great. And they're nice work. The Chandler Jones one is the biggest misnomer, I think. Like, he's shown flashes over the last couple weeks. With J.J. Watt out, the whole idea was that you'd have to keep the full offensive line honest. Even though J.J. Watt isn't what he used to be, he's still wearing 99 for the opposing team, and he's going to get double-teamed, which makes it easier for everybody else. The fact that he's on the field is kind of like same as DeAndre Hopkins on the offense, where you keep defenses honest. It shows that this year has been a full-on team effort. There hasn't been one like James Conner with the 11. How many touchdowns does he have? 12, whatever. Like that's the big one. Kyler Murray hasn't had a fantastic year. He hasn't had a world-beating year. And it just shows that across the board, the Cardinals have been solid.
Yeah.
Like
16 total touchdowns, 14
16, sweet Caroline. I mean, so that's the number. So if with
Chandler Jones has been good the last 2 weeks.
Yes, he has.
And if you look at the strips as far as forced fumbles, he actually surpassed his teammate Marcus Golden. He's second in the league, only to Josh Norman, which is a very strange.
Very strange.
Norman leads the league in forced fumbles. Quarterback for the 49ers, he has 7. But as far as what Marcus Golden and Chandler Jones have done as a duo, and who's shown up on this game and who hasn't shown up and who's shown up on the other game, it's been kind of a nice mix. It's not ideal. Like, consistency obviously isn't there for both of them. You'd love them to show up each and every week together. But, they're both going to be double-digit sacks likely. And they're both around, they've got 9 forced fumbles between the two of them, which is just absurd. Like, you'll take that from anything, from any combination of players on your team. So I'm not too down on Chandler Jones, especially if he can continue to trend towards when the games matter the most here at the end of the season. All right, that's going to do it for us. We're going to talk to Corbin Smith of Locked On Seahawks tomorrow. He's just going to openly weep, I believe, into a microphone for only 5 minutes. We're going to try. I'm sure he's going to beg us not to ask us about Russell Wilson and who the Seahawks could trade him to and what they should get back in return.
Baker. That's the one.
What?
You get a bridge quarterback. You can draft a young one. They'll give you 2 first-round picks because they don't need to get any younger. Call it a day.
My God.
In my opinion.
Who wants Baker Mayfield?
I would take Baker Mayfield over pretty much any quarterback coming out this year. For a year. And you just draft one.
I mean, if I don't agree, like Baker over the quarterback class, sure, but Baker over who you could potentially get free agency or the trade market. I don't know.
I'm sure Nick Foles will be a free agent. You can go that route.
Nick Foles, who beat the Seahawks 2 weeks ago as a quarterback from there. The guy had
brutal.
That's
brutal.
All right, that's going to do it for us. We'll save the rest of the hot takes for future shows. Follow on Twitter at Clancy's Corner. Follow Alex. Follow me at Bob Brack, Bo Brock. And, of course, follow the show at Locked On AZ Cards. And, of course, subscribe to our new YouTube channel. We appreciate that. We will talk to you guys on Thursday with a crossover episode with Corbin Smith. And I'll have our full predictions come Friday's show. It's the final week of the season. It's been a fun one. Fun continues because the Cardinals, they're a lock for the playoffs. They're in. Let's talk about it. Coming up, future shows, Locked On Cardinals.